success stories told by the people who live them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I've got a double dose of awesome in the Hit Lab with me today. Folks, check this out. I have the creators and host of the Woody and Big Head podcast, a brand new podcast that just premiered and is setting the freaking space on fire. In the Hit Lab with me today is Troy Woods and Anthony Billups. What's happening, fellas?
Hey, Nick. How you doing, man?
What's going on?
Well, a lot's going on. You guys are going on. You know what I'm saying? You guys are going on. So you guys just launched the new podcast. All right, so first of all, everybody wants to know, who's Woody? Who's the Big Head?
I'm Woody. Troy Woods. I'm Woody. And
if you can't tell by looking at me, I'm the Big Head.
So how did you guys, like, first of all, what made you guys want to do this thing? So you guys have a history together, right? You guys have, I'm reading right here, after 400 shows, 8 years of playing music together, always talking about sports. That's how the podcast was created, right?
yeah, we every Monday for like 8 years we played down on Broadway at Tin Roof, and it was always us and some other musicians that don't really know sports, and Anthony and I would kind of get into a podcast live right there in front of people, and people would be like, they would laugh because Anthony's hilarious, and we would talk sports and have a good time. And yeah, one day I was talking with my wife, and I was like, I should get Anthony. We should do a podcast. And I brought it to Anthony. He was like, yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah, instantly. It was, enough people tell you should do a podcast, you start listening, right? Yeah. So he said that, and to provide a little context to that Monday, it was a Monday afternoon show from 3 to 6:30 at Tin Roof Broadway. So every show started the same. It was us. There's nobody out there. We all just, we're just getting over our Sunday hangover. So we'd be talking about sports, and if the Chiefs lost terribly or something, I would lament, and I would literally just cry about it, for 3.5 hours every Monday, just saying stuff. And
it was great.
We'd ad-lib it into songs, and basically we would just have our buddy time to talk sports right there in the mic. And that's what we're trying to bring, with the podcast, what we're doing with the podcast. It's like when we hang out with our music and art buddies, we're not like, hey, how's your music going? It's like, how's your team?
Yeah.
And we talk sports. So that's what we're doing. It's talking sports with our music buddies.
Well, I was telling you guys before, obviously I'm a big believer in podcasts as a way to network. I think it's one of the greatest networking tools on the planet. It's a great way to establish credibility really just in the digital world, period. But you guys, this one has so much, this one's going to be big. It's going to be big. Everything you guys have done has been first freaking class. From the first graphic that I ever saw, I was like, oh my gosh, they get it.
Well, look, man, that's why you were the first call, right? I follow you on Instagram, and I've loved watching you over the last couple of years, and I'm like, well, he'll be able to tell us what to do, so we're just chasing you, man. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, man.
That's what we're doing.
It's funny, he talked about it a little bit, he spoke on it, we'd be downtown, we started a bar that would have 2 people in it, and then Monday afternoon, everybody kind of had the same vibe as we had. Everybody's hungover, so they're coming in, and they don't want to be blasted with music. They like the talk, they like the interaction, and it would people would just be rolling, man. They'd be laughing and having a good time. And so it was kind of like that when we were talking about it, we were like, excuse me, we're like, absolutely, we'll just do that. And so it's been kind of second nature. And so we're just ready to hit the ground running, man.
Yeah, and a lot of, the folks that we're going to have on and have had on are what's so cool about, and I think why I gravitate towards the music industry anyway, is because it's so many former athletes. It's so many people that are huge fans of sports, that played sports. So I've always been able to relate to folks coming from that background as well, and we're just trying to celebrate sports and music and have a good time doing it. And
absolutely.
So
watch it.
Talk to me a little bit about, we get to give the folks a lot of some background on each of you guys, right? So, Troy, let's start with you. Talk to me about like just your how your own path to meeting Anthony and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Excuse me. Yeah. So I grew up in Florida. Played 3 sports growing up, but was also, a music and surfing and skating kid. And fast forward all the years later that I'm living with a bunch of buddies in a bro house in what is now like proper Green Hills area of Woodmont, and
it was not that at this point.
It was not at this point. We called it the castle because it looked like a castle, and it was surrounded by like all the homes that had been renovated and looked really nice, and we were in this older house having parties every chance we could. And so 4th of July comes around 2012, and we're partying. Anthony comes over. I've never met him before, and in true Troy, Florida guy fashion, I'm riding around on my skateboard, like catching footballs from people. And I was like, it was
started
something
throwing darts.
Yeah, it was something out of a movie. I was like, "Sup?" And he was like, "Go long." He just like threw me a football on the skateboard, on the longboard, flying past him. And that's that's absolutely how our lives have intersected and us to a T. Sports and music literally just kind of running into each other, in his life and in mine. But yeah, that's kind of how it came to be, and then we started hanging out all the time, and he's kind of he's a adopted Florida man, because of
Florida in spirit,
our intellect and our disposition and stuff like that. So it's
that party also got to give a shout out to you and TJ Hit. They also set up a 2-piece heavy metal show in the front yard.
What?
That lasted about 30 seconds until the police were called.
Oh yeah, that day. So I go, hey man, we can do this. Let's go. So I grabbed the drum set. I've been playing drums since I was 3 years old. My buddy's a big time guitarist and singer. Shout out TJ Hitt again.
Hey TJ.
Florida boy. So we're like, yeah, let's do this. After several octobong hits and all that debauchery going on.
I forgot about the octobong.
Oh man, we hung it in a tree.
Crushed it.
And we just pour beer into it and go. And so we're like, let's do this. So we just get like the most like punk metal scene going on for like 45 seconds. Yeah. And I look to my right, and our across the street neighbor's got his arms crossed. And he's like, just throws his hands up and goes, "Really?" And so we're like, sorry.
Yeah, all right, we'll put it away. Where's the football and the skateboard?
Yeah,
Bring
we'll go back
out.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff. We don't condone this, kids, but we shot shotguns in the basement that day. It was we packed
It was nice.
Yeah, it was good times.
Good times.
Everybody's got some story like that. That one's a topper though.
That was a golden era of Nashville.
I mean, it was good
nowadays.
It was
good, and then 2-piece heavy metal band, you had me at hello. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was awesome. Well, so like Anthony, we were teammates in baseball in college, right? So, and what I will tell you, dude, is I was fortunate enough to play past the college level. You could have pitched, dude. You could totally did it. You had the stuff, man.
Oh man, well I appreciate that. That's a welcome validation coming from you, and yeah, man, it was a crazy year. I literally moved to Nashville to hang out with you and your dad and play for the Twitty Birds.
That's right.
And which, by the way, man, I need a Twitty Birds hat. That thing's long gone. We gotta dust those off sometime.
We can, and I'm sure Dad's probably got a storage unit of them.
He's got a storage unit somewhere. But yeah, man, that was it's hard to believe, how long ago that was, and craziest year. And I literally wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for that summer and the Sandlot with 2 T's.
That's right.
And but I appreciate that, man, coming from you, and because as you get older, you just like, man, you wonder, was I doing it right? Was I, was it a good use of time and stuff like that? And but I appreciate that, man, and you certainly could stick it, buddy. How far did you end up going?
I played 5 years active, and then 1 year on what they would call a disabled list. I was basically just tired of being broke.
Right.
I had an injury in the off season, and when they wanted me to report, I wasn't ready to go. I kind of milked it and I kind of just officially retired in that season. I think it was 2007. But the people that were, I peaked with playing in Edmonton, Alberta, which is it was independently owned, but it was like we played in a AAA stadium against former big leaguers, and I mean it was incredible,
awesome.
Incredible talent. I was like the littlest guy, except for like maybe a couple middle infielders. I was always everybody's freaking huge, man.
Oh yeah,
up there. So I just always wanted to make sure I was a nobody. And but when we in the locker room, you change clothes the first day, I just want to make sure when I took my shirt off, they were like, "Holy hell, who is that?" You know what I mean? So I busted my butt in the off season to make sure I made a statement day one.
Never look back.
that's right.
That's right.
So, but man, that's great. You know, I love driving down there and driving through the through Shelby Bottoms, and I'm always looking to see if Mickey's out there, shirt off, mowing.
That's it.
That's
That's
kept
always
that field
it.
tight, man.
He does.
Field tight.
He does, and I think it's against the rules to cut grass with your shirt on out there.
Yeah, man, that's Florida rules right there.
That's right.
I vibe with that.
That's right. Well, so Anthony, you had obviously we talked about the sports background a little bit. You played in college, which means you played at an extremely high level. Talk to me about the music and stuff like that, because honestly, dude, when we kind of reconnected and everything, you were really big in the. I mean, you're an artist. You're doing a commissioned artist, that's a big deal. It's not just a hobby. You're getting paid to play and write and everything else. Like, how in the world? Like, that's a big deal.
Well, so it's all it's all luck, right, and circumstance. So when that year that we were teammates, I was 20. I just turned 20, and had that crazy thing go on where I ended up losing my sight temporarily. It's a whole probably podcast to talk about that, but still ended up getting a full ride to Eastern Illinois University. Mm-hmm. So I went back home so I could be closer to home, because I didn't know what was going to happen with my health really, and well, they offered me full rides, so I went and I didn't really recover. Mentally I wasn't there, and because I'd set out all that summer mainly, or mostly, I didn't work out much, so I went right back into it. Ended up getting injured, and just was in a really unhappy situation at Eastern Illinois University, and I take responsibility for that, but it just wasn't right. And shout out to the transfer portal. Back then,
that's right.
You couldn't. He was like, my coach there was like, "You're not going anywhere." Mm-hmm. So lucky for me, there was a little NAIA school called Cumberland University in Lebanon, and Cumberland reached out, and then Trevecca reached out. So then I came here and went on a visit to both. Chose Cumberland because I figured if I was that close to downtown, I wasn't going to make it through college.
Well, and the Great Woody Hunt.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So so I got to got down there, and I think it was apparent from the time that I got down there that baseball might not be what was going to happen. I just mentally, I wasn't competing against the guy in the plate. I was competing in my mind against myself at that point.
Yeah. And that was a big part of your game, was the mental aspect. You were a bulldog out there. I mean, you were fierce competitor. It was like a light switch.
Yeah. So that it ended up being competing against myself. So, but Woody Hunt, I think the testament to his greatness as a coach was his ability to set you up for success in life. And so I never forget, Woody, now he's like, even at this point, he's larger than life. He's a little guy, but he's Woody Hunt, what I mean? Like he spoke, you listen kind of a feel, and it's like being around this big celebrity all the time. And I remember he came up to me, so I ended up in art because when I met with the guidance counselors, my fourth school in 4 years, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't care. I don't want to go to school more than 5 years total." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he looked, and he's like, "All you can do is art." And I'm like, "Hell with it, dude. I'll draw pictures the next 2 years. Maybe I find it. Maybe I go pro. At least I got a degree." And so Woody came up to me. He said, "Anthony, I hear you paint." And I'm like, "Yeah, coach, I paint." And he's like, "Well, would you do some painting for me?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, I want to get all the seniors something special," because it was the team that had won the national championship the year before. He said, I want to get them all something special. He said, would you do like a painting of their jersey? You know, because you can't give them their jerseys, you know.
That's right.
At that level of college, they're recycled for 2 years apiece.
It ain't in the budget.
Yeah. So he had me paint a painting of every senior's jersey, $100 each. By God, he handed me a check for $1,500. Oh man, I bought the keg. Yeah, I bought all the liquor. I bought the wings. You know, we partied with that money. But what he was showing me was, hey, there's a possibility here for you to make money with this talent that you have.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it at the time, but that's what he was teaching me. And then so for years to come, he would hire me. I knew every spring I would have that check coming in. He would have me do other things. He had me design the program. He had me make the posters. And he started teaching me how to make a living as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally I owe it all to Coach Hunt. And back in 2014, I was on a television show called Crazy Hearts Nashville.
Yep.
And when they announced the show or whatever, it came out on the front page of the Tennessean. And so we were out the night before, I was out late.
Oh.
I was out late, and I slept on the couch. My phone, I'm like, who is it? I look, 6 a.m, first call when that paper hit the shelves, Woody Hunt.
Wow.
He called me. He said, Anthony, I'm just so proud of you. I saw that you were, the fellas told me you were wearing your tracksuit in the pilot episode, and he's just like, I just always knew, and he gave me that. Validation, and I was like, well, please don't actually watch the show, Coach. I don't want you to see me getting hammered.
That's right.
But so anyway, man, just just like you, living the dream, man, doing something I love, and being able to make a living at it and stuck it out. I've been doing it in 2007, I had a sales job. It was sucking the life out of me.
Yeah.
And I was good at it. Made good money, but my heart wasn't in it. And I was in Nashville because I wanted to do music. I wanted to be an artist, and I burned all my suits, got a job at an art gallery, and that was 15 years.
That's awesome.
15 years ago.
That's
buddy.
awesome.
Still
That's
doing
awesome. It. So, as you guys can tell, folks, these guys are like when you hear the show, it's a lot of fun. When you watch them on stage, it's a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. But like where the rubber meets the road, what makes this work is like these guys are running businesses. They're successful. They got the brains to back up everything else, right? So it's the full package, man. It's literally the full package. And then just when you think they've got it all, you see their wives, and then you're like, no.
Thank God for giant personalities.
Absolutely.
Speaking of whole packages, but yeah, so we both outpunted our coverage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I outkicked the sport. I know that.
Yeah. Well, he's got a Maryland girl, and I got a California girl, and ironically, I always thought that would happen. But I'll pat myself on the back on that one. I was always
in
searching
there somewhere.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. My wife is also an artist. She's a singer and a songwriter in town, an awesome one. She's got a really cool duo called Jericho Rose, and yeah, man, she's my height, and she's
taller.
She might be taller than me, but she always makes the joke that she went to college, so she played volleyball and in school, and her buddies would always call her a breeder. Because she's a tall, beautiful woman, and
that's right.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some tall kids, which is cool. Because I'm like,
yeah, you did them a solid.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, we both both of our wives are beautiful, inside and out. Very cool, very lucky.
Yeah. So same thing. I think obviously our wives are both incredibly beautiful. I think where we really got lucky is that they're also like us in that they're dreamers and they support us. And my wife just she owns a holistic skincare studio.
They support us financially.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, when we need it. Charlotte Pike, Charlotte Avenue, whatever they call it downtown, and Catalyst Beauty is what it's called. And man, I mean, that's where, that's where I got luckiest, was that, she believes in me, and I think you would say the same. And man, she's just awesome. I think most wives, when you're like, hey, here I am at life, the last thing I need is something else to do. I'm going to start a podcast with Troy. I think most sensible people and wives would be like, why are you going to do that? But she's like, yes, here's what you got to call it. Here's what you got to talk about. She's into it. So that's really where we got lucky. But yeah, she's a pretty lady too. When I met her, she was the video vixen, country music video vixen. Yeah, she was like the Tawny Catania.
I'll never forget. So the night I met Katja, Anthony's wife.
He didn't believe it.
I didn't. Yeah, everybody. Every time somebody would introduce Katja to somebody, I'd be like, nah, man. Seriously, what's the joke here? No, so it was New Year's Eve, and we were having a party at the castle because the castle, rest in peace, shout out to the castle, we were still hanging in. And it was like probably the last year of the castle of our bro house. And he brought her to our New Year's party, and we're like, look at what?
Yeah.
Billups.
Way to go, Billups.
What's happening right now? What is even going on? I was like, did you pay her? What's happening? We absolutely.
Ain't the money.
Right. And same with me. Every time I bring my wife around, Hannah around, they're like, whoa. It's like immediately. You know that you've done well when you're immediately offended by everybody, by every one of your buddies.
Going back to Woody, and this is so great, he just retired like it was a year or two ago. But for his last game, players from all his career came back. There were thousands of us, there, and I didn't make it on Saturday. I had to work, and I was like, well, he's the one that gave me the work ethic, helped me with this work ethic, so he'll understand. But I went to the games on Sunday. There's a doubleheader, and between the games, I went walking out, and there's hundreds of former players, and I'm like, they're at that point I wasn't a great player, right? I was learning that art and music probably was a better fit. So you go out there and you're like, I'm not going to like beg him or try to get his attention. It's like, is he even going to notice that I'm there or whatever? And so he's down the third baseline a little bit talking to a bunch of players, and I'm standing over behind the clubhouse really, and behind some people, and I got long hair and terrible looking beard, and he's talking to somebody, and he looks over right towards me, and he goes and points, and I'm like,
to me,
one of those things to me, and he sees me, and he just stops talking to everybody and walks right towards me, and I'm like, oh my God, Woody loves me, right? And he comes up to me and he says, first question he asks, how's your little brother? For those who don't know, I have a special needs little brother. And so that's the first question he asked. And then he said, hey, you still doing art and music? I said, yeah, coach, I'm still doing it, doing it all. You taught me the work ethic. He's like, oh, no, you did all of it. You did all of it. He says, still got your wife? And I said, yeah, she hadn't left me yet. and he goes, well, from what I hear, you might want to hang on to that one. It got back to Woody.
It got to him, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, she hadn't run her off yet, man. She's still around.
Well, it's incredibly important to, at the end of the day, marriage is it's a partnership on so many levels, emotionally, financially, everything, right? And it's amazing. It's hard, it's hard to just go out and take on the world. It's extremely hard to do that. And what we see with a lot of the young business owners that we help get started is, like, at the end of the day, your habitat is what's true in your life, right? So the ones that take off the fastest usually believe in themselves the most, and it's because everybody around them in their circles believes in them. And some of the most talented people that don't make it, it's because, like, their parents are a little overprotective and saying, hey, maybe you should play it safe. Maybe you should do something safe. Maybe you shouldn't take that risk. You guys are like literally walking examples of how important support at home is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My parents, I started, I'm a drummer and a singer in town. But I started, it was kind of a family affair. Music was always around me. So 3 years old, I'm banging on stuff. And so my mom and my dad got me a drum set. And, everybody's like, oh, my God, wasn't that annoying? And they're like, no, because you put...
Kid could play.
Yeah, like you put your 10,000 hours in. And as to put that in as a kid, I know, Anthony was sports and you as well. Like when you're doing that and people are kind of shocked, you're like, man, it's just that environment has to be right. And I'm always, when people ask me like, oh, my son or my daughter plays or whatever, I'm like, let it be their journey. If they want to do it, do it. And that's the perfect situation. Like, I'm a drummer because I wanted to be. They're like, oh, are you going to have your little nephew do it? He looks like he's into it. I'm like, if he wants to. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, you're a parent, you absolutely know that, like, little man, if he wanted to play baseball, he was going to do it.
That's right.
And if he didn't, then he was going to, I don't care if you play the trombone, but go hard and do it. And that's really cool. And we're fortunate to have parents and systems and support systems that we're like, yeah, go do your thing. So,
well, I think it's also synonymous to the athletic experience, right?
That's right.
My dad was an old farm boy. He didn't know, he didn't play high school baseball past his sophomore year because he had to work on the farm. So he always instilled in me, I'm going to help you chase your dreams. I remember about 14 years old, he said, hey, man, what do you want to do? And I said, Dad, I want to play professional baseball. So he started researching. He started learning. He started taking me to camps, started driving me all across the Midwest, started making sure that I had access to those people that could teach me and teach him. I watched him learn it. So I saw him not know something, but then devote his entire life to learning it, and taught me well enough that, it paid for my college. It got me through school. So coming from that athletic background and that supportive background, that bleeds into what we do now professionally as creatives. And just like you were my catcher on that team, he's my catcher on the stage, right? So you have that team atmosphere, and it bleeds in through our creative professions, and that support system and everything like you're mentioning is from our wives to our friends.
Absolutely.
And our teammates, bandmates and stuff like that, podcast mates.
That's right. Well, you got to be, people I think people misinterpret what all in means, right? So if you're all in and your circle's not, like how can you be all in if everybody's not just like, dude, I get it. You're going to do it. You're going to make it. You know what I mean? And if you can't convince the people at home, you're not going to convince anybody else. You're not all in, and it's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So there's a huge level of commitment, like when you launch a podcast. So talk to me a little bit about when you got the idea versus like when you see, this production here is an absurd amount of work. It's a full-time job for multiple people, not just myself. Talk to me about a little bit what you guys have learned when launching something, because you can do it. You could totally set at your kitchen table. It could have been terrible production.
Oh yeah,
and it probably wouldn't have launched. Right, that's production's everything.
Yeah, we a cool thing. Shout out to my father-in-law, Clyde Fontanet, has a podcast of his own, and he when he started doing it, excuse me, my wife was like, you should do this. You actually should do this. And so I thought about it, and with music, us being both busy guys, I'm like, when can I do it? Who am I going to do it with? And I was, when she was like, oh, Anthony would be great. We have this camaraderie, we have this vibe about us, and it's just, easy and second nature. So I was like, absolutely. But it was like, what are we going to do this in my basement? Like so it was cool that I got with someone, in Anthony, who is like, we both kind of hit the ground and we're like, just ideas flowing. And we're like, all right, cool. And we're like, the key, I think, when in a partnership is like, all right, when you're on the same on that vibe, and you're on the same field, you'd be like, okay, cool, this is where we need to go, and so we want this to be big,
right?
So we didn't want it to be in my basement and 5 people watching. If we were going to do it, we were going to do it right, because of the belief in the product that we can produce. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like shout out to the Hit Lab, right? So we wanted to come and be, it's like, you have this gracious awareness that we know nothing. We know nothing about starting podcasts. We're going to do it. We want to be around somebody that knows what they're doing. And then we want to be in a facility that, you know, it looks good. It sounds good. Just like when you go to record a record, you know, you want to be in the right studio. You want to have a good producer. You want to have all these things. And, you know, you want to surround yourself with people that are better than you, just like when you were being an athlete. You know, you had those folks you looked up to. You saw how they worked. You did that. And just carrying that same, you know, awareness, humility, and just the hunger to want to learn something, you know, I just anything. It's just like another medium, right? Yeah. So, you know, it's like I didn't know how to paint murals 8 years ago, but somebody called me and was like, hey, can you paint a mural? And I'm like, well, I can figure that out. You know, how much you want to pay? And then they told me how much. I'm like, by God, I will figure that out.
Shoot, I'm going to paint something. Like, get me a brush, Anthony, I'm in.
And so that's the, you know, anything that we want to do as good as we can, and it to be as, you know, well produced and put out something, you know, you don't want to look like a bunch of dummies. And you know, we can do that even with this production, you know, still look like dummies, but you know, you know, just applying that same, you know, hunger to want to be great. You know, just whatever you do, you know.
That's right. Well, just, you know, the first episode is your first milestone, but then after that, it's like, how do you get to 100,000 people in a month? You know what I mean? So that was always our targets that we were aiming at from the very beginning. And like anything else, so when my wife and I decided we were going to build this room, which now we're building more, and then launch this thing, we both agreed everything that we do. We agree if we're going to do it, we're going to put our head down and not look up for a year, like for 12 months, 365 days, just to give it the time that it needs to cultivate, and we'll learn along the way, and that we usually win when we do that. And it was I was telling you guys before, it was about 15 to 20 episodes before it really, like, once you get to 100,000, you never go back below that. Like, you know what I mean? Especially if it's a good product. And then it starts to compound. It's like money. The more you have, the faster it grows, right? So it's the same thing with an audience like this. But the reason that we built this room, shout out to Bradley out in Las Vegas. We went out to his podcast, Dropping Bombs, and I'd been on podcasts before, but when I walked in that studio, I was like, wow, this is the real deal. And his podcast was huge. And then I saw, like, the moment it aired, my social media just went crazy. I think we like tripled our audience almost overnight when that hit. And I thought, there's something there. But I looked at his podcast versus all the other ones I'd been on and the amount of traffic. And the difference was, besides he's really good, was production. It was production, right? So I was like, we're going to do it. It's got to be first class.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said, and we got lucky that, you know, you were available and this spot was available. And even as we bring in our friends and our guests and they get to see it, you know, I think they enjoy it more knowing that, you know, we're not just, you know,
it's the real deal. It's not. It's not our basement.
Yeah, it's not sitting at a bar, which, you know, could be cool.
It could be. Yeah,
that's once you get established, that's when you do some special remote locations. You know.
So you know, and for us, what's so exciting for me, and it goes back to that team atmosphere, right? Is that, you know, we've incorporated being able to share our friends' music, not only bring them in and have them talk and get to share their knowledge and get to share their passion, but also we get to do what is like a lost art in Nashville as we get older and it gets bigger, right? Is that sense of camaraderie and community and helping out your team. So being able to use, you know, our talents, if you want to call it that, and our passion for sports, our platform, to continue to promote our friends, their creations, their music, and you know,
that's right,
all while talking sports. You know, that's what's so cool about it. And you know, if we got to 100,000 followers, then I would know every time that we play, you know, Ryan Nelson's song, there's 100,000 people here.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And
when we do.
Yeah, right. And that's you know, that's the coolest part of it for me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's, you know, one thing that we talked about, the most important thing was, like, we have so many friends, so many buddies that are sports, you know, former athletes and play music. And I mean, the town is full of it. I mean, shout out Riley Green was a quarterback at Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Sam Hunt. Sam Hunt was a quarterback at, like, MTSU, at UAB. My buddy Hubert Payne, who plays drums for me sometimes, is Little Big Town's drummer. He was an awesome running back in college. And we just have all these talented friends who we looked and we were like, this cool web that has spun in between each other, into each other, lets music and sports, and we were like, we have to capitalize on this.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like when we see each other, and I know I already said it once, but that's all we ever talk about.
Absolutely.
We're not. Of course, like we might talk about, some career stuff if it's brought up, but really we're just talking about sports. We're golfing, we're throwing footballs. We're just talking about, how are your Eagles going to be? How are your Jags? When my friends reach out to me, it's never like, oh yeah, I saw that cool mural that's massive and in the middle of the town and I should be talking to you about it. It's always like, hey, sorry about your Chiefs.
Yeah.
Good luck to your Chiefs, or
right.
I got your Chiefs this week, and I'm proud that that's become part of my identity. I mean, my fanhood for sports is as good as it gets, especially my beloved teams and
Oh yeah.
And that's part of the cool part of this community is how much we all love sports.
Yep. What the premise behind this podcast is there's a whole lot of amazing stories, and it's a storytelling podcast where you can relate everything back to the founder's story at the end of the day, and we say it all the time. Sometimes it's in the intro. We have people on the show that everybody knows, and we have some people on the show that nobody knows yet. That's the catch, right? Talk to me about. I mean, you guys are going to be bringing in some amazing folks as they're coming in. Where do you guys? So we know about the premise, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you guys want to take it? How full blown? What's your next milestone besides just audience and things like that? What are you guys aiming at?
Oh, well, I mean, I know one of Anthony and I's favorite podcasts to watch is Bussin' with the Boys. Mm. That kind of level is what I'm striving for. Like you said, we're not going to get into it to not do it all the way. So that's, I personally, my goal is to have that national. I want that national name. I want people to know. I want a dude in Nevada to know who Woody and the Big Head is. To people in Little Rock. I don't know. Name your place. I want that to be a brand because of the passion that we can. And shout out to all the music people and business in general. Build your brand. That's what we want to do. Because we don't it's one of the first things we said is we're not going to do it and go half ass on it.
That's
we're
right.
Go in. So
for me, I really miss sports. It's never not there, but I miss being involved and being impactful and being able to be a part of the sports community. If you're talking about my listening throughout my life, it's about 70% sports radio, sports talk, and about 30% music.
Gotcha.
Because sports is my passion, right? And I just feel like over the last few years, I haven't been as involved. I used to coach. I coached a couple different programs in town, and so this is kind of my way of being able to get back in towards sports and being able to have influence and being able to share our stories as musicians and creatives, making a living while talking about sports. Just to have some kids out there, listen and be like, oh man, that guy makes a living painting giant paintings. That guy makes a living singing and playing drums, and being able to then talk about sports and how important sports were to us growing up, and how part of us being here they are. And for me, I would love all these things just to be able to promote friends and obviously you get into anything, you want to make a good living at it. I would love to. My dream ultimately is to be like the voice of a team,
Oh yeah.
That's all every time the Chiefs score, we do the Mitch Holthus touchdown Kansas City.
Yeah.
My dad and I we call and my apologies to Mitch there. I didn't expect to do that, and that wasn't my best one. But just anything like that in college, I would announce the the basketball games and Visa Gugurovich, and just right. That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
man.
being able to kind of use our knowledge of performance and maybe get back into sports a little bit more is my
same.
We need to work on our goals. All right, we'll work on our goals. We need to think about that more, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think
specific. I need some specificity.
You're right.
Well, it's brand new. It literally just it just premiered, right? So and like I say, I'm extremely excited for it. There's we a lot of folks reach out to us about potentially launching a podcast. Everybody undervalues the amount of work and the amount of expense that goes into a production of that caliber, right? And so out of all, like, we're very selective with, I know at the Hit Lab, they're very selective with who they want to work with. And it's got to, at the end of the day, when you have a certain amount of studio time to give, you got to be selective with who gets it, who deserves it, and what's going to be the best product so that you can scale and grow past that, right? So, everything that you guys have done up to this point has been absolutely like top notch. Like top. I mean,
thank you.
Your graphic alone is probably maybe one of the greatest podcast graphics, like title graphics I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Dean Tomasek.
That's
Dean
right.
Tomasek is one of the greatest artists Nashville has to offer, from designing of posters and graphics like that to playing bass. And we also paint a lot of murals together. And there's another story. We met in 2010. I had a venue called The Building, and we were doing an art and music show, over on the east side. He showed up, and I loved his art. We became buddies, and then he's just an incredible bass player. Played with him for years in bands, and then when I got that first call about painting a mural, I knew he had done stuff like that, and he came over and helped me learn it. And he's been helping me learn it, for the last 8-9 years of painting them. And so, you just took him the idea, and I was like, here's how we met. We met throwing a football to him on a skateboard, Woody in the Big Head. We came up with, we tossed around some names and
dude, it's a surfboard. Like, I can see it all over everything. Oh, yeah. It's so good.
You should have seen the mock-up, the idea board we just threw to him. Yeah. And it was like, this is what it is. And then he brought that to us, and we were like, smash.
World-class talent and super rock and roll dude, right? You look at Dean, you're like,
the best hair.
Yeah, he's great hair, and but you look at him, you're like, he's not going to know anything about sports.
Right.
When we paint murals, we're talking about sports. You know what I mean? That's just like he's big into it, and he's got Broncos background, so I can talk with the best of that. Of course, he's a Titans fan, and as well, and just the fact that we can talk sports about it. While we're out painting is just another example of what this show is, man. Is because that's the moment where you're like, your friendship takes another level. You're like, oh, we're pretty cool. Yeah. We play music, we paint stuff, and then he's just like, oh, how are your Chiefs? And you're like, oh, now we're bros.
That's right.
We're bros. It's a bromentous occasion every time that happens.
Well, sometimes like folks might look at a show like this and you really got to check it out to see how credible the sources are. Like, again, a lot of times people get mislabeled as just funny, or not serious and stuff like that. But like, some of the funniest people of our time, we wouldn't know who they were if there wasn't a great business mind in there somewhere, right? So you guys are the total package, man.
Well, we want to be funny. We want to be entertaining.
Yeah.
But we also really, it's something that we just love.
It's credible. It's good.
I learned these sports growing up, and I'm not ever going to say I know more than anybody else, right? But I know enough to at least be able to be a part of the conversation, and so does Troy. We know the sports. We love the sports.
Yeah,
we just want to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely, being knowledgeable of it is an important part to us. People are like, I hit up a couple buddies to tell them about it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so funny with Anthony. I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm like, but we know we're not brand new to sports, and we grew up. Both of us coached. I coached some football, some high school football as well, and Anthony's coached baseball in high school. We have an idea of what we're doing here. So we're excited for another merging of another cool idea of sports and comedy, and just we're excited.
That's my retirement plan, is to coach and teach.
That's right.
Yeah, me too.
I'd love to do that in college.
What's crazy, when something like this, when it does compound, you get to, like, I remember at the beginning, we made our prospect list of all the guests that we wanted to hit up, and like, people's time is extremely valuable, especially successful people. And, I'm blessed to have a lot of people know me through my family, and everything that we've always done has been to a certain level. So I didn't get a lot of pushback when inviting people on, but then almost overnight you go from that place of I'm asking people to be on to all of a sudden people are calling you to be on. There's some great PR firms here in town and everything else that are trying to get their stuff out, and then once you break into that circuit, dude, it's cool. It happened. Like that's when I was. It took me about 15 episodes or so, give or take, to get to that point, and then it just it compounds and it scales fast.
Yeah, man, I think that goes back to what we were talking about, that team, mentality, right? Especially in Nashville. Like if you get with the right people that are passionate about what you do, you start sharing each other's stuff, then the cream rises. You know what I mean? And
that's right.
That's another thing that I'm really proud of with our podcast is, our sponsors and people that we're going to for sponsorship. It's all local. It's all local, Nashville. Places that we want to promote and use whatever platform we create to just always keep that going, man, where everybody's working together to, be successful.
And they can sponsor the entire show. They could sponsor an episode, couldn't they?
Yeah, call 615-489-5100.
Absolutely.
Come on. So, well, guys, as we kind of bring this thing to full circle to a close here, what is there anything else you guys would like to tell folks about what's in store? Again, this sucker just premiered, man, so it's brand new to the market. I got to say that the response has been incredible, as we knew it would be, right? So, what's next in store for you guys?
Man, I think we just, like you said, 15 or 20 episodes. We're going to start learning exactly what we are. In those 15, 20 episodes, we're going to try to have as good of a time as anybody's had on these things. Talk about things that are important to us, and just keep learning the craft and trying to kick ass and have a damn good time and be entertaining and be funny. I appreciate all your friends calling me funny. I feel really good about that,
Absolutely. No pressure. We'll hit it over the head again, just building the brand. I'm excited to build the brand. I'm excited to show people what we work hard on, and it's just ready for, like you said, 15 to 20. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, we're look, we did that too, right? We've got our little dream list of buddies we want to bring on and talk sports and talk music and just celebrate the love for both together.
Absolutely.
I can just totally see you guys. The fat heads they hold up at the Little League World Series with the players' heads are like gigantic.
I can just totally what my actual head looks like.
I can.
It's to scale,
dude. I can just totally see, especially when you do the remote stuff down the line. From time to time, the people in the crowd holding those up behind you, type stuff. You can just see it. You can just see it happening. You can see this the graphic on a shirt. I mean, dude, it's top notch, first class. You guys have killed it, crushed it so far.
I appreciate that, man. I'll tell you my big head. I'll give you a big head story you'll appreciate. All right, as a fellow baseball player. So, when you play college baseball, you get there in the fall and you have fall ball. And you kind of like sussing out the team, and everybody's kind of trying to compete or whatever. So I went to 4 colleges in 4 years, my first 4 years, and each fall, I was the only guy wearing a different hat.
Wow.
Because they never had my size, man.
Yeah.
Mine, I remember, our team hat was green. My sophomore year was green with, they had like the orange and white letter or whatever. I had a white one. Everybody else had fitted caps. Mine was snapback.
On the last button?
Yeah.
Giant head. Yeah.
It's not just a clever title, man.
Just to make people laugh, we put my hat on Anthony sometimes.
Yeah, that's my goal. I changed it. I'm fine. I want to monetize this thing people have been picking on me about for the last 40 years.
Right. That's right.
That's right.
So tell the folks, the show is called Woody and the Big Head. It's available anywhere you can stream a podcast, and it's also has its own social media, right? So tell the folks they need to give both of you guys a follow. They need to follow and subscribe to the podcast.
Absolutely, it's at Woody_Big Head. You can find me at I am Troy Woods on the socials, and Anthony What's your handles? I can't even remember your handles.
Yeah, so it's at Anthony Billups is my personal handle. At Woody_Bighead, of course, is the podcast. And if they follow and share and subscribe and do all that things, we're going to be doing some giveaways.
Yeah.
Our first giveaway right now is for the home opener, Titans. We got box seats to the Titans game.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna have some concerts. We're gonna have some giveaways for some Preds games and stuff like that. So each, I think we'll probably do it twice, twice a month. We'll do a good
awesome.
a good giveaway and start building up some of our followers and shares that way.
That's right. But they have to follow and subscribe.
They gotta
to be
do that.
Eligible.
Got to do that. Yeah.
Come on, make it happen.
That's right. At Woody_Bighead. Again, it's just that it's top notch. I can't say enough good things about it. I'm extremely excited about it. I'm a fan. I'm fanning out right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's awesome.
Well, and I'm trying to get better, right? So shout out to Two Rivers Ford for providing those
tickets,
those giveaways. You know?
Wow!
Yeah.
Every day I thank the good Lord when I step into my Two Rivers Ford.
Oh.
That's awesome.
I don't care about how few points my team scored when I step into a Two Rivers Ford. Working on it.
I'm working on it. Boom.
That's good. I think he nailed it. I think he did. Nailed it.
I'm never bored. Oh, okay, never mind.
Well, more to come. Well, fellas, thanks so much for hanging with me today, for promoting the new show. Again, it's fantastic.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man, you're the best. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.